This is lesson 30, and we're going to be dealing with common denominators, adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. We're going to rename fractions so that they have common denominators. We're going to compare fractions with different denominators. We're going to add and subtract fractions with different denominators. Hopefully this will still be reviewed, but it may be new to some of you. Our vocabulary, first of all, is least common denominator. We've talked about this before in just a couple of lessons prior. It's the least common multiple for two or more fractions is the least common denominator. We talked about least common multiples. Least common denominator is the denominator that is the least common multiple for the two fractions. The common denominator is when two fractions have the same denominator. When that occurs, we say they have common denominators. So two fractions, both with a 12, would have common denominators. All right, so if two fractions have the same denominator, we say that they have common denominators. These two fractions have common denominators. These two fractions do not have common denominators. If two fractions don't have common denominators, then one or both fractions can be renamed so that the fractions, both fractions, then have common denominators. We remember that we can rename a fraction by multiplying it by a fraction that's equal to 1. So in our example up here, the 8 being higher, we would need to get 3/4 to have 8 as the denominator. Well, we know that in order to do that, 4 times what equals 8? Well, it's 2. So we times 3/4 by 2, and now we have a common or equivalent fraction of 3/4, which is 6/8. And 3/8 and 6/8 now have a common denominator of 8. Rename 2/3 and 1/4 so that they have common denominators. First thing you need to do here is you need to determine what's the smallest number that both 3 and 4 go into. A lot of times that's going to be the number that they multiply into, but 3 times 4 equals 12. But that's not always true. But in this case here, I believe that it is. That's going to be our smallest denominator. So 2/3, what do we have to times by 3 in order to get 12? Well, we have to times it by 4. So we have to do 4 over 4 to get an equivalent fraction. So 2/3 times 4 over 4, and we know when we multiply fractions that we multiply straight across, so we get 8/12. So 2/3, equivalent fraction 2/3 is 8/12 with a denominator now of 12. Do the same thing for 1/4. 4 times what equals 12? Well, it's 3. So we've got to times 1/4 times 3 over 3, which equals 1. We know that we can do this. So when we multiply it, we get 3/12. So now we have 8/12 and 3/12. We have two new fractions with common denominators. Let's erase that, take a look at it. There it is, 8/12 and 3/12. So write these fractions with common denominators and then compare the fractions. The reason we do this is because to look at 5/6 and 7/9, that's hard to tell whether it's less than, greater than, equal to, or what it's hard to tell. But we know that there's a number that both 6 and 9 go into. And the smallest number I can think of is, and what do you think it is? What do you think the smallest number is? Hopefully, you said it's 18. Because 6 goes into 18 and 9 goes into 18. 6 goes into 18. How many times, what do we have to times by 6 to get 18? We have to times it by 3. So we take our 5 and we times it by 3 and we get 15/18. Because what we've done is we've taken 5/6 and we've times it by 3 over 3 and we get 15/18. Here we're going to times this by 2 over 2 because we know 9 times 2 equals 18 and we get 14/18. So now that you know that 15/18 and 14/18, 15/18 and 14/18. Now can you tell me which is bigger than the other one? Is 15 bigger than 14? Yes, it is. 15 is bigger than 14. So 15/18 is larger than or greater than 14/18. Pretty cool. Arrange the following fraction in order from least to greatest. You may write the fraction with common denominators to help you order them. I would do that. I'd write these all over 12. See if you can do it and see if you get the right answer. Okay, when we write them all over 12, 2/3, we know to get to 12, we got to times that by 4/4. So that equals 8/12 right there. And 5/6 to get to 12, we got to do that times 2/2. We know that equals 10/12 right there. So we got 8/12, 10/12, and 7/12. Now all we have to do is put them in order. 7/12 is the smallest, then 8/12, and then 10/12. So our order, then when we can't, they didn't ask us to order them this way here. Our 7/12 comes first. Our 8/12 was our 2/3, so it comes second, and our 10/12 was our 5/6, so it comes last. Ordering them is a little bit tricky. You got to remember which one's which. Subtract 5/6 minus 3/4. In order to do this, you're going to have to get a common denominator. Pause the video, see if you can do it, and then let's check your answer. Okay, 12 is our least common denominator. We know that in order to get to 12, we got to times 6 by 2, so we times our fraction by 2/2 to get an equivalent fraction of 10/12. Doing the same thing with the 3/4, but knowing that 4 times 3 equals 12. Right here, the 4 times 3 equals 12, so we times it by 3/3, we get 9/12. And then 10 minus 9 is 1, and then we have our 12. So our answer is 1/12. Hopefully that's the answer you got before you continued the video. Let's see if you can do 8 2/3 minus 5 1/6. Pause the video. Let's see if you can do it. All right. You should have gotten a common denominator of 6. If you take 2/3 and you multiply it by 2/2, then you get 4/6. So you take it and you're getting your 4/6. Let me do that over here so you can see what that looks like. You've got the 2/3. You need a common denominator of 6. So you know you got to times it by 2/2. So when you multiply these two together, you get 4/6, and that's right there. So now you got 8 4/6 minus 5 1/6. So you just minus the 4 minus the 1 is 3. Then you have your 6. 8 minus 5 is 3. So our answer is 3 3/6. But we can simplify 3/6. A 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes to 6 two times. So when we reduce that, reduce it as it's reduced and simplified, it's 3 1/2. If you didn't understand that, watch it again. All right, let's add 1/2 plus 2/3 plus 3/4. Pause it, see if you can do it yourself, and then turn the video back on. All right, first thing we got to do is we got to get our common denominator of 12. So what times 1/2 equals 12? It's 6/6. So 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 times 2 is 12. So we got 6/12. And we got what times 2/3 is going to equal our 12? That's going to be 4/4. So we're going to get 8/12 there. 4 times 2 is 8. And then our 3/4, we're going to need to times it by 3/3. And we're going to get 9/12. Now we can just add these up. 8 plus 6 is 14, plus 9 is 23/12. which then we convert to a mixed number. 12 goes into 23 one time with 11 left over. So our answer is 1 and 11/12. Let's see if they show it the same way. There it is. Exactly the same way that we did it. And there it is in a simplified form, 1 and 11/12. Hopefully you're understanding this and it's coming very simple to you. If this is confusing, please see me so we can go over it one-on-one, and we can also discuss it in class. If you recall back from lesson 27, that prime factorization helped us to find the least common multiple, so we didn't have to do those great big numbers. For example, up here, we, to figure we find out which one has the most 2's and which one has the most 3's. This one had the most 2's, so we brought them down here. This had the most 3's, so we brought it down here. Then we multiplied them all together, and that gave us our least common multiple, if you remember that. Well, we can use prime factorization to help us add 5/12 and 7/24 also. We write the prime factorization for 5/12 is right here, and for 7/24 it's right here. The least common denominator of these two fractions is just the least common multiple. And so that is the number 96. So once we've got the 96, then we've got to decide what times 32, because these are what these are the ones we got to add together. So we brought both of these down here. What times 32 equals 96? Well, it's going to be times 3. And then we get 15 over 96. The second one, if you didn't know that it was 4, you could do 2 times 2. The way you do that is if I take these 3 out of here, I take these 3 out of here, what's left over? 2 and 2. That's this 2 and 2 right here. So you can know that this one here has got to be multiplied, and the 5 has to be multiplied by the 3 over 3. Or you can just figure out that 24 times 4 equals 96. But you're going to have to find out what goes into 96, because 96 is your common denominator. And then you do 7 times 2 times 2, or 7 times 4 is 28. Once you have that, then you've got your answer. And I'm sorry it's cut off here, but 43 over 96. That's it. There's your tickets in the door. Number 2, 8, A, and B, and 22. If you run into problems, see me, write them down, circle them, bring them up tomorrow. Let's do them on the board together. Thank you for watching the video.